Welcome to Cafe 229. My name is Joanne Chang, and today we are in the Rubin Museum of Art in New York City. We are very fortunate to have our speaker today, Tashi Chodron. Tashi is going to talk about her work and introduce herself to us. Welcome, Tashi. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Joanne. Tashi Delek, and it's such a great honor to be here for Cafe 229 and with you. I think this is in the making for a long time.
It is.
And I'm so glad it is now happening, and wonderful to be here in front of the Tibetan Buddhist shrine room here at the Rubin Museum. My role here right now is Himalayan Programs and Communities Ambassador. And I've taken many roles over the course of 18 plus years here at the Rubin Museum. So I'm a Tibetan, never seen Tibet. I'm born in the Tibetan refugee camp in India in exile. And so I'm born in a Buddhist family. My parents were born in Tibet and fled in 1959 and came into exile in India along with His Holiness Dalai Lama and about 90,000 Tibetans during that period. And so I'm born in the largest Tibetan refugee camp in India, in the south of India, called Balakupe. And what I often say is that I'm in fact born at the foot of one of the biggest monastery in exile, called Ngondro-Preliminary Monastery, which is founded by one of the greatest master of the 20th century called His Holiness Penor Rinpoche. And even otherwise, some of the biggest Tibetan Buddhist schools are from the Balakupe, South India area. There is the all schools of Tibetan Buddhism, the Sakya, the Kajuk Monastery, the Gelug Monastery, including the Tashi Lungpo, and then the Nyingma, the Ngondro-Preliminary Monastery, which is Penor Rinpoche founded it in the 1962, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, wow. So you grew up studying Buddhism in the refugee center in India.
If I may say, like, grew up studying Buddhism, it's in my family, right? And so I literally grew up practicing, you know, the living tradition, the culture and the tradition. And you know, the great thing is that having born at the foot of the biggest monastery is we get to experience, you know, visit the monastery like every day kind of stuff. And so unlike, you know, here in the West, you go to a museum, right? In the refugee camp there, you know, there's no such thing as museum, but going into monastery is where, you know, I learned the spiritual practice. And of course, you know, going to the Tibetan school, growing up in the refugee camp, and then day-to-day practice that our parents, we see them, you know, day-to-day basis where they'll be reciting the mantras and doing daily practices and visiting the monasteries and so forth.
Wonderful. So working in this museum is like home to you, right? It's something very comfortable and something you're very familiar with and cultivated with as well. Would you tell us more about how you joined Rubin Museum of Art?
I had just moved to New York City from the Bay Area, and through Gene Smith, who we often refer to him as the godfather of Tibetan Buddhist textbook, I was invited for a lunch, and the founder of the Rubin Museum, Donald himself, along with the education's director and the curators of the Rubin. 3 days after that, I got a call from the Rubin Museum education director asking if I like to work here. So, and rest is history.
Right.
It is 18 plus years, and
Wonderful.
You know, I'm here.
Well, thank you for your service to the museum as well as to New York City Buddhist community. I understand the Rubin Museum is one of the largest one in New York City that serves the Buddhism religion as well as the community from Tibet. What does it offer to the community, especially in New York City?
I really like what you said. Rubin Museum is like a home to you. And working here for this long, since 2006, so 18 plus years is a testament. So to me, as a Tibetan, as a lay Buddhist practitioner, coming to this museum is like coming to 100 monasteries in one place. So I often call this as modern day pilgrimage, you know, and so what's the essence of the Rubin Museum's collection, the Himalayan art, we call it, or Tibetan Buddhism, is my culture and is my identity. So I thrive. I thrive every day. And I feel so blessed, you know, as a Two Sense lay practitioner, being in a building that has all these amazing Thangka paintings and sculptures, what we call an art, and it's put in a glass case here in the West and hung on a blank wall, coming from its origin, you know, these are sacred objects. And so, you know, coming here and, you know, being able to have a job that my passion, my culture, my identity, I thrive. And I smile every day, you know, and so I feel so blessed and so honored.
So Tashi, we are in such a wonderful space with so many beautiful, beautiful collections here. Would you like to share us a few important pieces or highlight of the museum?
Absolutely. It's my great pleasure to, you know, share a few pieces. One painting that I would often suggest for all age is the Sipe Korlo, or the Wheel of Life, in Sanskrit called Bhavana Chakra. In fact, here we're sitting in the Tibetan Buddhist shrine room, but this is like an experience for a visitor to kind of understand if they were to go into a monastery or a household shrine, this is how, you know, it would be displayed. And so the shrine room, which is loved by all our museum visitors, by members, it's a great place on the 4th floor gallery. And if you were to go to a monastery, right outside the monastery, you would often find the Wheel of Life. And so therefore, right next to the shrine, we have commission from a Tibetan professional artist, Thangka artist, who's actually painted the Wheel of Life, and we have it right outside the shrine room. Other than that, you know, Buddha, who is the founder of Buddhism, the Shakyamuni Buddha, often referred to as the historical Buddha, you would find that in the center of the shrine. And then Padmasambhava, or Guru Rinpoche, in the Tibetan, the precious teacher, as you see right in the shrine on the right, the big sculpture wearing this elaborate hat, and that's Padmasambhava, who manifests in 8 different forms, in peaceful and fierce, wrathful form, and he's often referred to as the Sangye Nipa, which means the second Buddha, who actually brought Buddhism from India to Tibet in the 8th century. And then you would find Tara, the Dolma in Tibetan word, known as the female Buddha, which is very exciting because even for my Tibetan children, during the pandemic, I was teaching mindfulness meditation over the Zoom for a group of young Tibetan children. And when I asked them, when you think of Buddha, you know, in terms of gender, often, not even children, but even adults, they often associate with the male figure, right? But there is, you know, Tara would be a perfect example that Buddha comes in a female form as well. So those are some of the paintings that I would take, you know, the highlights, the essence of the collection. And then there's Reimagine Himalayan art now, where, you know, contemporary artists have created these beautiful work of art, you know, touching to their culture, to their identity. Artists from Bhutan, Nepal, you know, even as far as from Tibet, beautiful work of art that is all over the museum, you know, all the 6 floors. So October 6th, before that, come and enjoy this beautiful collection.
Definitely, yes. I appreciate this museum really much because as a Buddhist myself, Chan and Zen/Zen Buddhist, and I have been living here for a very long time. It's not until more recently I got to know Rubin Museum and I introduced it, you know, to my community of people, and learned just such a rich art collections here, and really appreciate. And Tashi, actually came to my college and ran an amazing concert with over 30 artists, musicians to come dance, sing for Asian Heritage Month at the Queensboro Community College at City University of New York. And we celebrate Asian Heritage Month every April. It is very meaningful to me. And the mindfulness club is also, I run on the weekly basis at my club. And it is it's such a connection between Buddhism and the meditation.
So mindfulness meditation, which is a weekly program,
yes,
inspired from collection from the Rubin Museum. We select a piece of art, and then we invite guest teachers. Especially if we know in advance the Tibetan Buddhist teachers from, Nepal, Bhutan, India, and Tibet, or, if they are visiting New York City, then we would invite them as well. And then different teachers here, like Sharon Salzberg, and many, teachers that we invite. Rebecca Lee, one of someone that has been interviewed in the cafe 2 to 9.
Yes.
And so it's a 45-minute short session, but very popular. And we have daily from 80 or to 140 to 150 people that come weekly for the in-person program. But prior to pandemic, we filled that theater, 145 people every mindfulness session. And going back to the other programs, there's a Himalayan Heritage program, which started many years now, and Himalayan Heritage, it's a beautiful program that I started where the Himalayan community, from the Himalayas and the surrounding, whether it's Mongolia, China, Nepal, India, and Bhutan. So, all of us here in New York, it's such a great privilege to have a place to share the culture and identity. And then for the Friends of the Himalayas or for our members, it's been such a they can feel the Himalayas, not having to travel 24 hours kind of, so they could feel that here. And as part of the Himalayan Heritage, in fact, the Tsuchi, we did a big sold-out program here as part of the Himalayan Heritage. It was compassion in action, connecting to a bodhisattva, especially right after the earthquake in Nepal. And I know Tsuchi has done such amazing rebuilding a whole village in Nepal. So we wanted to show, the great things that people have done to restore Nepal. And so that was one of the Himalayan Heritage program. And the other, few programs to mention is, who knew when you think of Mongolia is like the world's top contortionist. Mongolia, people think of some kind of eagle hunting or horse riding, right? Yeah. But we were able to bring in the world's top contortionist. It's like an ancient Mongolian thing. And so those are some of the programs that we've done.
You covered a lot. I wanted to come back to the point where there's so many programs that you offer here. It's a transition time to the museum. I wanted to talk more about that, what has it brought us and where is it going in the future?
So museum opened in 2004, October, and then October 6, 2024 is going to be our physical space last day, as announced. And so, yes, going wall-less, the physical space we are so attached to, especially for those who've been coming on a weekly basis for the mindfulness meditation. We have members who feel very lost, but at the same time, there is something in the Buddha's teaching, in fact, it was, prophesied by Padmasambhava, the Guru Rinpoche, the 8th century master, about how Buddhism will be, scattered all over the world kind of idea. But, in a positive way, going wall-less is we're going global. Last couple of years, we have already been doing this. I think COVID has taught us all a lot about how we can, we can function, and that means more people can enjoy this wonderful collection, the Buddhist art and tankas and sculptures that teach us so much about how to be better person, how to bring peace, how to be happier. Who doesn't want to be happy, right? Even animals want to be happy. So.
Sure.
And so we've had our exhibition, the Mandala Lab, which is on the third floor here in the gallery, and that is a interactive exhibition or interactive installation inspired from the principle, from the Buddhist concept, from the Vajrayana Buddha, transforming afflictive emotion into wisdom. That exhibition has been traveling to Bilbao, and then last year in London, and then right now it just opened in Milan. So it's been amazing, and we've already been traveling. And then the Gateway to Himalayan Art, 108 objects, that has been such an amazing exhibition that is already traveling within so many different universities and traveling all over within America. In fact, I had the great honor of offering our book that cross-department worked so hard on that Gateway to Himalayan Art, big catalog to His Holiness Dalai Lama in his hand last year. So, so that's what disseminating wall-less going global.
Our founder, Tzu founder, my Master Cheng Yan actually said in one of her talk, she said, I don't want just to build temples physically on earth or in front of us. We are building temples inside everyone's heart. And I think that's what it matters. You are in the community, has built this temple physically here, as well as everybody who comes to your museum in their hearts, a wonderful, beautiful temple inside their heart. And hopefully wherever they go, they'll carry that temple with them and the meanings behind that with them.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like what building a temple in your heart is the key. Then your wisdom is awakened, and you become better, and you become happier, and you can bring that energy to your immediate partners, to your family, and to the community. Right.
A month ago, the last project I came was Death is Not the End. And I kind of felt like there's a connection for the, what's the museum's future, Museum Without Walls.
Absolutely. Death is Not the End is curated by Elena Pakatova, who is the senior curator here at the Rubin Museum on Himalayan art. And it's a cross-culture, what you call through the art of Christianity and Buddhism and Tibetan Buddhism, sharing about how death is not necessarily the end, sort of like, giving hope to us that considering what we all went through during COVID over the course of many years. And so that the exhibition is an amazing installation, having sort of three different parts or sections. We're talking about the human life, how we continue to, how like contemplating on impermanence, yet how it's our nature that we think we're going to live forever, kind of, how we live. And then there is the pardo, in Christianity, the purgatory or the limbo, whereas in Tibetan Buddhism, the pardo, which is in between, intermediate stage. And then the third section is afterlife, whether we call heaven in Christianity or, the transformation or awakening or enlightenment. So it was a beautiful exhibition that our visitors really enjoyed.
It was. I really enjoyed it myself. And also the students that we brought.
To me personally, as a Tibetan, this space has been such a great platform for my community, for the younger generation to come and learn about their spiritual practice, Buddhism. These art, they teach a lot. And then having this platform for them to share their, culture to our audience. But again, change happens.
Yes.
we had the impermanence, which is a great teaching by Buddha. So it's eminent change happens, and we've had 20 years of this great space.
Death is not the end. I don't know if you have watched the movie Coco, that it is a Mexican movie that talks about the people who are dead will actually disappear only if everybody who be part of his life forgets about him. But if we pass down something, it continues, then it will never end. And so as like this museum, it's a physical form, may not be here on 17th Street of beautiful New York City, but the people the museum has touched, and the exhibitions, and every single piece of art that it's stayed here. So Tashi, you have so much experience, especially you grew up within that environment, and also you are a practitioner. What is the take-home message that you would like to share with our audience in Cafe 229?
Take-home message, I would say, as a lay practitioner, I think what I see around, there is so much suffering, so much confusion. I feel like it's very helpful or important to understand that nothing is permanent, that everything, things changes, but not just, when a sad thing is happening, but even when good times, not to have any taboo or any other points, but to really the Buddha's teaching of, mitapa or impermanence. I think it's, as a practitioner during the preliminary Ngondro practice, there is such thing as you practice on impermanence like so many times or 100,000 times, and that, I think that really helps strengthen oneself, because in the bad time or sad time, if you understand that this too shall pass, that this is not going to be like this forever, then the individual can feel lighter. But at the same time, there are people who are so having good time and never thinking about, things change, right? Like, and then when things do change, then people get really upset or get into depression and all of this. So I think having that equilibrium or like day-to-day level of understanding of change happens or impermanence or any of that, I think one can be much stronger. Also, for us all human beings, in the Buddha's teaching, it often says precious human rebirth, understanding that we may have done something really great in the past lifetime to be born as a human. So each of us have that wisdom, that genuine compassion, loving kindness, but because of our what in the Buddhist teaching called 3 poisons, the afflictive emotions condensed down into the 5, which is like the mandala lab that people can come and experience, transform your afflictive emotion into wisdom, where all these anger, hatred, jealousy, ego, these can be sort of like associated with or tied to a certain color and how you can get out of kind of idea. Whereas then in the wheel of life, which is known as Bhavana Chakra in Sanskrit and Sipe Korlo in Tibetan word, in the center of that painting, if you see, there are 3 animals, which kind of associates as the 3 poisons in the Buddha's teaching. Decha, Shedang, Timu, which means desire, clinging and attachment. And then there is Shedang, which is anger, it creates so much suffering. Then the Timuk is that pig in that center, painting, which ties to or associates with ignorance. And that is the root cause of all the suffering, And so it's important for us, like in the teaching, it says, reduce those or train your mind. Train your mind in what? Train your mind to reduce these afflictive emotions so you can give rise to the wisdom that each of us are born with. When you are able to do that on a daily basis, like one Rinpoche said, fake it till you make it. Like, you just pretend, and someday you might be able to reduce all the angers and hatred and all of that, and then you become a better person when you can, give rise to that wisdom that is within each of us, and then your immediate partners, your family, your neighbor, your community, the world can be such a better place if we can all train your mind or train our mind to do, to reduce those afflictive emotions. And that's what we do at the mindfulness meditation. Come and sit for a few minutes.
I appreciate those. Like it kind of all weave together. Like you were talking about that is not the end. And I feel like that, when I think about that, that takes away a lot of anxiety. Because a lot of anxiety is the fear of not knowing where we go or what it's like after life. And if we take with the practice of mindfulness, it relaxes us and the right mind, and we feel more relaxed and at peace. The impermanence of the changes in the museum, that kind of intertwines everything together into a beautiful piece of art like what we see here. Thank you so much, Tashi. I appreciate your knowledge, your talk, and experience. It's our pleasure to have you today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanne, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Sharing the wisdom, compassion in action.
Thank you. We'll do that all together. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.